You know, Cloud Kingdom is definitely one of the harder maps, I would say, for ZVP both ways. I think there's a lot of different all-ins that each player can do. But let's go ahead and get into it right now, and I'll get into all that fancy pants stuff, the theory of it.
Let's go ahead and introduce our players starting in the bottom left. We have Chad Jones, also called Minigun, from Team Complexity. A Protoss player that's kind of just rising the ranks. Started off with, kind of being an unknown guy. He has the FPS background. Let me say, a lot of people who play StarCraft, they have these Warcraft backgrounds, Brood War backgrounds, or like, Select had a Dawn of War and all these things, and even people like Apollo had their Command and Conquer series. But Minigun came from FPS and being able to translate that kind of skill, which is very impressive. A lot of people kind of judge FPS and say, you know what, like they can't really translate the StarCraft II.
Yeah, which is definitely true. In the top right-hand corner, of course, Ziktomini, our WCS winner, and he is spawning as the green Zerg.
Yes. We'll be playing the European Finals coming up on September 15th.
Ooh, can't wait for that.
That trailer looks so cool.
Oh my gosh, yes it does. And
then I remember Europe is just so full of talented players.
Yes.
It's actually quite absurd how many good players there are. And Ziktomini is one of those guys where people are like, yeah, Bling, the Muslim's going to win WCS UK. Or like even people were pointing at people like Johnny Rico, but it's like Ziktomini came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I really look forward to this guy. You know, that's the coolest thing about WCS. It really gives a platform, I think, another platform that's not invitational, that's very, I guess, grassroots, that these unknown players can come out and just make the biggest splash ever on the international scene. That's what's so amazing about it. Now, we've seen so many players like that, of course. I would say Ziktomini, Scarlet are the two main ones that I think really, really pop out. Even though Scarlet made a great run at IPL, since then she really didn't do much else.
And everyone knows Ziktomini has an insanely wicked beard. It's actually rivaling that of Cat's pajamas for a while before Cat shaved it off. It's like really, really cool.
And became JP. And then you found out both of them were the same person.
It's one of those mind-bending experiences where you're just not prepared for it. What do you think has more hair, the bottom of Ziktomini's chin or the chest of Mr. Bitter?
Chest of Mr. Bitter. There's nobody more manly than Mr. Bitter's chest. Actually, Mr. Bitter's chest is more manly than all of Mr. Bitter himself.
It's true. It's true. He lives vicariously through his chest. Everyone knows.
He does. Yes, sir.
Minigun is walling off pretty interestingly. Using double pylon immediately, trying to reinforce the wall. Some Protoss players like placing it in their main and just kind of hide their tech a little bit from there, but it's just a stylistic thing. And you can see that Ziktomini is only pretty standard. Now, Cloud Kingdom is a map where, protecting that third actually gets a little bit tricky if you can get the pylon down, but a lot of Zergs have been very, very good about early scouting, make sure to deny. You can see Ziktomini already keeping the Zerglings around that third because they don't want to get cannon rushed. But that spot's been actually patched because of the queen range. You can kind of deal with the cannon.
Yeah. Actually, Jeff in Control Robinson, I was talking to him about it. He's like, oh, I still do it. I'm like, why would you still do it? He's like, all these Zergs, they're getting so cocky with their queen range. They're like, oh, all I have to do is put it over here. And then he makes 2 more cannons right on the side. And all those unsuspecting Zergs, they're like, oh, I only have 1 cannon to deal with. Wrong. And they get killed.
Only thing better than 1 cannon is 2 cannons. Or 3, depending on what you need. Minigun has 1 cannon, and he's going to place a Cybernetic core on the top of his ramp, the top of his expansion. It's just another way to kind of protect it. If you go for like early roachling, you want to kind of protect Cybernetic core early on. It's just a small little thing. Those are kind of tips you want to pick up if you're trying to aspire to play Protoss and you want to SimCity correctly.
Now let's go ahead and talk about the advantages of this map for each of the races. Basically what it comes down to is Minigun is going to have a very difficult problem in actually taking his third base. You might think that it's a little bit easier, but the fact of the matter is he has to close this gap off with either units or buildings, or probably a mixture of both of them. And then he can actually take his expansion over here. That actually constitutes a ton of minerals, so you don't have the capabilities of defending this wide open area and defending this area without really investing hard into something. Of course, units is what I'm referring to, whether it be Immortals, Stalkers, Sentries, etc. But 2 base pressure is exceptionally good on this map because you see this hatchery, it's really out in the open. And creep spread is hard. Where do you actually spread your creep? Do you do it up here? Do you do it down here? Well, it's 2 different areas. That's 2 potential injects unless you get additional queens. So as long as Protoss actually approaches this Zerg base from the side that doesn't have a lot of creep, what you can basically do is get really close to this hatchery and force either Zerglings and Roaches to attack and defend off of creep, or to have this hatchery actually work as some sort of terrain that obstructs. And obviously, you don't have to use nearly as many force shields.
Minigun is going to plant 2 pylons in very nice spots to kind of cushion the pylon, reduce the surface area you're able to get, and also go for the high ground. Minigun is going to aggressively try to warp in here. Now, he does have this 4-gate finishing up simultaneously. Great timing. As long as he can get the Zealots out to protect the pylons. I mean, Ziktomini is pretty grossly unprepared, and as a result has to make a lot of units. Speed is only about halfway done, and now the first warp-in's coming in, Andre.
Yep, there it is. 4 Zealots on the way right now. That +1 obviously helps 2-shotting all the Zerglings. But Roaches are in there too, so that's going to help as well. We're going to see if Ziktomini is actually able to do this. Zerglings are so smart, flanking out the Stalkers, making them vulnerable as possible. If you take out the Stalkers, that's actually a lot of the harass potential.
Yes.
Zealots are really, really bad alone because Roaches and Queens can kite them for a very long time.
Yeah, you get the idea is that you just kind of keep the Stalker count low, but Minigun's still pressing with enough Zealots to really make the Zergling count kind of hard to manage. You can see immediately that Ziktomini is going to try to target some of the Stalkers. The Zealots are getting pretty weak. Good micro from both players, keeping the Roaches alive for a very long time, and all of a sudden the Stalker count is very low. Minigun already preparing his transition, getting Immortals out, not going to warp in any more units, aggressively going to warp him back home. But now, like you said, how is he going to take that third?
Yeah.
Very awkward.
I think this isn't the best 4-gate map. Yes, I've seen it work time and time again, but the fact of the matter is, at the very top level, Ziktomini should always be able to defend this. And as you can see, look at his saturation in all of his bases. It's pretty good. I mean, he's very close to optimal saturation in all of them. That really tells you that this pressure doesn't do that much damage. On top of that, there's Immortal All-In, which is going to be pretty valuable. Well, it could be an Immortal All-In, it could be an Immortal Defend, but this Immortal All-In should have been maybe a minute faster than it really is, or 2 minutes faster than it really is. Actually, might even, he should have been pushing out by now. And it's really unfortunate because you can see Ziktomini, he wasn't really planning on pushing his creep spread any far forward. So this would have been so much more powerful. I really, really feel like Minigun should have relied on just more of a delayed pressure and really went with the best army composition rather than doing the 4-gate, which I really feel like doesn't do that much damage this day and age.
Well, you know what? I mean, the pass is behind us, Andre, and we're going to see a follow-up 7-gate with a Warp Prism. Accompanying it, has to protect the Roaches. The Sentry's also getting flanked as well. Ziktomini preparing an awesome engagement spot. One Immortal will drop because it's caught by the Zerglings. The second Immortal is, actually safely tucked on top of the ramp. The Warp Prism finally arrives to the battle, but Ziktomini has bought himself invaluable amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, what a huge advantage right there. Not only do you have Glial Reconstitution from the failed 4-gate, but you also have beautiful position on your opponent. He's not even near the 3rd base to actually do any damage. So that means you can actually squeeze a ton of drones in at this point. A ton meaning like 5, 6, 7. Not that many. Dude, that's a lot, man. 5, 6. All right, maybe I overstated that slightly. But anyway, you can... Damn it, Frodan! Call me out.
Oh, you can see that Ziktomini's getting another good flank. The Sentries are very exposed in the front. You can see that, spending half the battle running away. Immortals need to be shooting the entire time. And Ziktomini at this point just has an incredible amount of supply available to just deal with his units and keep it away from his production. You know, the threat is you're picking off his queens, you're picking off your drones. Anything that pops out may immediately be sniped by the Immortals. And Ziktomini is keeping all the pressure away from his base. This is just very impressive. And Minigun can't take a 3rd comfortably. And even if he does, you know, the creep is there. It's 1 minute before the creep can recede.
That's absolutely right. And, I mean, all he's waiting for is a 3rd to actually go up. He has his Overlord in position to know whether or not that actually goes. If he sees no 3rd going up, he just says, okay, let me continue massing. There will be a point, though, when, excuse me, actually big engagement right here coming in from 2 different sides. Ziktomini just absolutely smashing his opponent. I mean, these force fields are not going to be good enough. You can see, yes, he might be able to clear everything up, but the fact of the matter is so much damage has been done, and look at what is behind this. 38 Zerglings and 7 Roaches in production, still denying that third base. Ziktomini doing everything right. Now, Minigun, he has the potential of having the most absurdly good gateway slash immortal army. You can get to a stage where 200 army can beat a Zergling Roach army just with the amount of force fields you have. The sentries are just, they get to a point where they can do so much damage to a Zerg army. But so Ziktomini does have to think about actually teching up, getting over to additional upgrades, and more importantly, getting to that Infestor tech. But for now, I mean, everything is going right for Ziktomini.
That's actually something, Andre, that I'm kind of concerned about, because Ziktomini has been going so hard for aggression that he hasn't kind of been edging away from it. His upgrades are very poor.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have, good saturation on his gases. In fact, he's on a pretty low drone count because he's been spending drones here and there to do things and hasn't been resupplying them, as a result falling behind. He used to be upward at the 60 count, but now in the mid-40s. But you know what? It may not matter if he gets a good engagement. You can see the sentries immediately dropping emergency force fields, but the Roaches manage to get directly into the face of the Immortals, and if the Immortals drop, Andre, they are the crux of this army of being able to deal with the endless waves of Roaches. But you know what? The force fields are just enough for Minigun. Great hold from our complexity Protoss player.
Minigun was perfect in that, actually segmenting off the bottom, realizing that, hey, the top is very, very light. Let me go ahead and isolate that before any of the Roaches can actually do a lot of damage. And I would actually say Ziktomini has aggressively put himself in a terrible position. I mean, he's just been over-aggressive, almost like old-school QXC/select style, to the point where I think he's going to be... Well, back in the beta, that's why I said old school. That's how they used to be. They would kill themselves just because they did.
Did they play Zerg?
No, Terran. But
yeah,
that's the style.
No, that's what I was saying. If they.
Oh, yeah. And
I get what you're saying.
You get me.
Yeah,
that's why you're my
aggressive.
casting partner. You get me.
Andre, look, listen, I get it. Andre, I get you. I understand.
Thanks, bro.
I do.
And Minigun, exceptional job at realizing what's going on. Now targeting down this third base. This third base will die.
This is definitely spiraling way out of control for Ziktomini, because he hasn't been able to. He got a little bit greedy with his positioning, and he wasn't able to keep tabs onto the War Prism, and the Queen wasn't even targeting the War Prism, so he was able to get in scot-free into the main. And Minigun has to just continue to keep the pressure on while buying time, and he's able to get his third up. Zealots have done more than enough job sniping that third, halting gas intake for Ziktomini. And
takes
War
out the
Prism
War
as a
Prism.
result just dies. But that's okay. War Prism served its purpose.
Yes,
and
sir.
War Prism's just a robot anyway, so you don't have to worry about a
Don't
loss
worry.
in the Protoss life.
Exactly.
It's true. It's heartless, but it's true.
It's heartless. Anyway, in this position, Minigun is ahead. What? What did you say? Yes, he's ahead. Why? Why is he ahead? Frodan, go.
Ziktomini's ahead, you said?
No, Minigun.
Oh, you said Minigun's ahead. Well, the thing is, Minigun actually surprisingly has amount of tech developed compared to his opponent in ratio. You can see Ziktomini just is developing his layer tech. He's getting his first Infestors out, but Blink, Colossus, +2, all these things are in front of Minigun. And that's all I can say, Andre, because anything else I say, I'm just making stuff up.
You know, the fact
Why else is Minigun ahead?
The Infestor tech and the Colossus tech are neck and neck, and the fact of the matter is you cannot be investing this much into Infestors when Colossus are imminent. Yes, Infestors are the way to crush Immortal armies. The Infested Terrans are just so freaking powerful. But what it comes down to is those Colossus are able to counter all those Infested Terrans, and you have no response to the Colossus. So now you have to really, really look for that Spire tech, and that's going to delay quite substantially his Hive tech. So right now we're in a position where he just doesn't have enough gas. Minigun actually has the I would say the initiative to actually attack or defend or whatever he wants to do. He's the one that's going to be doing stuff with his army, not his opponent. And I would, if I were him, I would just get 2 Robos, go up to 4 Colossus, and push out, knowing my opponent is just so far behind after losing that third base with delayed Infestor tech. You really cannot keep up. And there's no amount of Broodlords that you're actually scared of, because if they do, they're going very Infestor light. Colossus and Blinkstalkers can clear all of that up.
So what I said is right.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. I feel good.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
I feel good. And Minigun has to be feeling good about his position as well now that he scouts a lot of Zerglings, Roach, and Infester. You can see the Spire and Hive is almost in tandem, so Ziktomini can immediately go up to Broodlords, but how much gas does he really have saved for it? You see a huge flank attempt here from Ziktomini, but he's going to lose a lot of Zerglings. Could be just trading out a slight amount of units, but that was a very costly trade.
That was beautiful for Minigun. Minigun will push into the 4th base right now, and he should be able to kill it. He should be producing additional Colossus as fast as possible, but the fact of the matter is, what response does Ziktomini actually have for this? He doesn't have one. And the fact of the matter is, like, well, yeah, he has no response. 8 Corruptors on the way out as we speak, but when it comes down to it, Infested Terrans can't be popped out in time. The Roach count really isn't that high. There's a lot of Zerglings. They die one shot, basically, to the one shot to the Colossus.
The +2 weapons allows you to one-shot Zerglings no matter what. And you can see that Ziktomini at this point is just going to go for a counterattack. Doesn't have any other choice. Minigun already hot on the scent. Going to pull back his army and really try to shut it down, but at the same time, this is what Ziktomini wants. He wants to buy time. Minigun missing the force field slightly, going to lose his initial sentries, but Minigun's forces should be able to get there in time and minimal economic losses as long as he's able to focus it down. Ziktomini loses his economy as 4th base as well. Great job by Minigun. He's also attacking out to a fleet beacon. So
beautiful.
Minigun already has his follow-up plan already prepared. And just like you said, because Ziktomini's tech has been delayed so much, by the time he gets Broodlords out, Mothership might even already be on the field.
Yeah, and that doesn't even matter at this point because the Infestor count is so low. There's no substance on the ground to actually dissuade some sort of Stalker blinking directly on top of the Broodlords. You just cannot get those perfect fungals. They don't happen. 5% of the time they ever happen, where you get those fungals, they lock down all the Stalkers, and then your Broodlords can just destroy everything. That just doesn't happen in this position. Broodlords, yes, are on the way out, but it's not going to be in time for this 4th base. And the fact of the matter is, 4 base Protoss against 3 base Zerg, you don't even have to worry about switching compositions. You don't have to get Archons because you know one Broodlord is gigantic if you're able to kill it. Just blink your Stalkers up and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, 8 Broodlords are not going to be enough. I mean, at this point, I mean, he doesn't even have really a spine wall. He's got 3 spine crawlers to really contest it if he wanted to protect his 4th base. Another counterattack from Ziktomini, but these Zerglings, man, they were swindled, man. They were told to go attack, but there's no real attack going to be done whatsoever. Full wall up from Minigun. And as a result, Ziktomini's like, well, this is awkward.
Yep. And, you know, having these Zerglings do that is absolutely fine. You know, I would actually be a little bit concerned. Oh, no, Ziktomini actually sees this 4th base over here. But Ziktomini knows he's in a terrible position. It's so sad because he was monstrously ahead in that early game stage, or mid-game stage, when obviously he just surrounded all those Immortals, but he just took it too far into the mid-game. And
yeah, he didn't develop his tech enough. He has no answer to the Colossus, really. The Stalkers are just enough. He's got his High Templars out. He's going to also have his Mothership out. Minigun also putting his probes close to Nexus to reduce the surface area of the Zerglings. Nice little cute trick by Minigun there. And he's just being very safe, comprehensive. Minigun not getting over-eager. Too many Protoss players just throw their units into the fray. And now the final seconds of the game might be upon us, as if Minigun can get a good engagement, then Ziktomini will be crushed and he has no way to resupply. Of course, with Infestor Broodlord, anything can happen. I'm a firm believer that miracles are possible.
And I think he's just going to wait at this point for that 100 energy. Once he gets the 100 energy and additional Archons, he will actually push in here. I think he could have won the game right there. There was no reason to really do that. And look at this, actually keeping the High Templars, that's so important. You have to actually feed back as many of those Infestors as possible. Infestors really make, I would say, this composition work.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, Infestors just empower so much. And Ziktomini is actually using his Fungals to eliminate the Observer. And you might say, well, isn't that a waste of energy? But the Observer empowers the High Templar. It gives them the range. You can gauge how far you can push out and feed back the Infestors. And so those kinds of things are just really important. Now, Andre, I have a question to ask.
Go.
Do you believe in miracles?
You sexy thing.
No. I meant, do you believe Ziktomini can hold this? Because you know he has 12 Broodlords and 14 Infestors.
No. You have to have Mr. Bitter Micro if you want to actually defend this. There's no chance.
Oh, come on. You can see that Ziktomini.
Wow.
No, it's not that.
Bitter,
It's
this is what I'm talking about, man.
No, I'm saying that, you know, I think Ziktomini is, you're saying that he has to have ridiculous micro to win this, but I think as long as he can take a good position and, you know, if Minigun slips up once, that could be it.
Yeah.
You know, as long as he avoids the vortex, he's getting neural parasite. Neural parasite is done. Andre, what if he neural parasited the mothership?
Archons. Yeah, the mothership, and then the Archons.
And then the Archons.
And then toileted everything.
Yes.
That would actually put him in a position where he could win. So, yeah, you're absolutely right.
What if he neural parasited the High Templar and feedbacked the mothership, and then did and then feedbacked all the other High Templars? How crazy would that be, Andre? I'm saying anything can happen. Do you believe in miracles, Andre?
You sexy
I don't even know
thing.
what I'm not talking as if I know what's going to happen, but I'm saying that Ziktomini has a pretty intimidating army.
Yes, he does. He does.
13 Corruptors, 14 Broodlords, and 13 Infestors.
And there it is, 200, 200. So literally all he was doing was waiting for that mothership to actually finish. Ooh, and there's the feedbacks.
Is there going to be no parasite or a vortex?
Trying to. There's the vortex 1
vortex
and
number 1.
Oh, vortex 2. There it is.
Oh, and he catches a bunch of the Infestors, and
that's going to be it, man.
That's way too much
look
damage.
At how much damage Minigun is doing. Stalkers are blinking in, taking out all the Broodlords. This has done so much work. The 4th base will go down, and that's a big problem because, yes, you still have Broodlords, you still have Corruptors, but the fact of the matter is I have 4 bases as a Protoss. Let me go ahead, get more Stalkers, and you are absolutely dead. What do you have to remake? Broodlords and Infestors. Ouch. Ziktomini definitely in a terrible bind at this point. Where does he actually go from here? He needs a miracle.
Yes, he does.
But do you know what, Frodan? I don't believe in miracles.
You don't. Well, Andre, you know, it's at this point, Ziktomini needs more than a miracle because it takes an incredible amount of time to make Broodlords and to gather energy on your Infestors, especially if you have your Broodlords all exposed. GG. You see that right there. All the Broodlords were exposed, man. He's just like, yeah, I see you there. I see you there, Stalkers. GG. So game number 1 goes to Minigun. Wow, that was actually a really good game from Minigun. I think Ziktomini had a great opportunity, but just stayed there a little bit too long. And
I honestly, I would, if I'm going to go back after this cast and talk to Rotterdam about this, and I'm pretty sure he will agree with me 100%. Ziktomini won that game. It was his game to lose. He kept going Zergling Roaches. That's okay, but once you see that 3rd pop down, you better switch over to Infestors immediately. I think he stayed on there too long. The sentry count was way too big for Zergling Roach to be consistently powerful, and from there he just...
Yeah, it goes both ways.
It was a slope.
It goes both ways. If Protoss warps in more sentries and everything to get, you know, their army up, their tech is also really delayed. You can get up your tech, kind of scale it back. Exactly. You know Protoss wants to take a 3rd from that spot on. Just play a little bit based off what you know, that information. But Ziktomini made that snap call, and in the end, he has to live with his decision as he's down 0-1. We'll find out what happens after a quick commercial break.